watching The End Zone, sponsored by Lucky Star Casino.
Welcome to another edition of The End Zone, along with TJ Eckert. I am Colby Daniels. We've got a lot to discuss this week, TJ. College basketball, the NBA, and especially this week as we get ready for spring football. Oklahoma started this week. OSU's still a couple weeks away, but who doesn't love spring football in the state of Oklahoma?
I was talking with our anchor, Brenna, and she said, does football season ever end here? She's from Canada, so she doesn't know. And I told her, I was like, no, it really doesn't. And it's
Not
crazy.
anymore.
It's crazy to think about because the coverage season obviously is in the fall, but for us in the media, like we still have opportunities to talk to these guys, and spring ball and all that, like you just mentioned, is starting up. But for programs too, it's year-round for them, especially now. You just said it because of this new era with the portal and NIL. I mean, it is 12 months of football, really. Yeah,
I mean, the football season ends, right? And you go into the coaching carousel, you go into the first portal window. The playoff now lasts basically through January.
Yeah.
And then you have another signing day, you have spring football, you have a spring portal that obviously creates a lot of momentum. And then you have, players that are leaving a program and the NFL draft conversation that revolves around different programs and their players. And then you have media days in the summer, which leads into fall camp, and you just start the thing over again, right? When somebody says dead period in college football, I'm like, don't say that too loud, because if you find a dead period, it won't last long.
Yeah, that's right. They have found a way to get football into every month of the calendar, basically. And you really did mention that. There's really 1 month, I think, that you could consider dead, and it's June at this point.
That's probably right.
And even still, guys are still up there working out. We just don't cover it because we don't cover summer workouts.
Right.
But they're up there and they're doing stuff. So, yeah, football season's year-round, and I'm excited that spring ball's back and got to talk with some of the newbies there in Norman.
That's right. Speaking of doing stuff, that's what the Sooners are doing. They are officially underway for this new version of Oklahoma. A lot of changes this offseason. Ben Arbuckle is the OC. They addressed some key positions in the transfer portal, including quarterback John Mateer. And they have a new GM, Jim Nagy, and we were able to speak with both John Mateer and Jim Nagy for the first time this week in Norman. But Brent Venables is going to go back to calling defense. That's one of the other big changes going into spring football. And he talked about, I guess, just the mentality of, why he wanted to make that move. Yeah.
He's fighting for his job. I've been fighting for my job every year. Like somebody's holding me under the water, trying to drown me. And that's been my mindset. That's been my attitude when I come to work every day. So nothing's changing for me. Do we need to be better? You're damn right. Does your mindset got to change? Nope. And why am I going to call the defense? Because I'm good at it. And I'm confident in it. And many people do it at a really high level where they call an offense or call a defense and have a lot of success. No guarantees with anything, but it's a comfort zone for me. And last year we went 6-7. I didn't call the defense, so that didn't work very well.
He says many people do it at a high level. Last year we went 6-7, and I didn't call the defense, so that didn't work very well. He didn't hold back, I think, in terms of addressing that specific topic.
He didn't, and what was interesting is we wonder, do coaches listen to narratives, or do they listen to the outside noise or the media? Do they listen to stuff? They do, and I thought his answer there really just hit home the fact that he's absolutely hearing what people are saying, because the worry from fans is, can you be a head coach and call plays on defense? And to me, that was him speaking to fans and media saying, well, on the flip side of that, I didn't call plays last year and we were horrible. So what do you want, right? You can't have it both ways. And so to me, that was his answer to the critics out there of, well, you can't do both. Well, I didn't do both last year and we weren't very good. It's kind of how I took that.
One reason he's going to be able to do both is because they have a general manager, right? That's going to be able to take a lot of the headaches off of a head coach's plate. You start to build this sort of structure where a front office kind of handles the personnel department and coaches can actually coach. If they don't bring in Jim Nagy, or if they didn't have Curtis Lofton, or if they're not trying to move to this new era of college football, then it would be more difficult. But Jim Nagy is now the GM. That takes a big weight off of Brent Venables' shoulders, a lot of his workload away, which frees him up to call defense. Speaking of Jim Nagy, the new OU GM, he was available for the first time to the media, and he talked about just embracing the challenge that is the complete chaos of college football.
But I'm excited to, get going with them. I love to learn. Like I said, I've got a lot to learn when it comes to some of this college stuff. I'm going in eyes wide open on this stuff. It's funny. When the hire was announced, I got a lot of calls and texts from guys at the college level, and they said, welcome to the something show. I'll leave it at that. I'll edit it. And I really don't look at it that way. I think it's a really cool opportunity. And again, I've heard a lot of people complain about it. But there's an old saying, there's a book called "The Obstacle Is the Way," and I think we got to embrace it. It is what it is, and I think the schools and the programs that are ready to adapt and attack it are going to be the most successful. So really, it's the relationship piece, and then from where my background is, it's a scouting background. I mean, I like nothing more than sitting in a dark room and watching tape. That's what I've done my whole life. So I've got a lot of work to do. I mean, every day I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? I'm trying to think of the next thing, but I can't wait to get to the point. And it's I know we got a lot to get done, but where we can just really start, I can start digging in. And first of all, learning this roster. I owe that to I owe that to all these players.
My big takeaway from Jim Nagy is he is a football junkie, and it's very easy to see why he and Brent Venables would have gotten along so well in the interview process.
Definitely. Did we ever get clarification on what bleep show he was referring to? Was it college football or was it OU? Did we ever?
Probably a combination of both, but
all
yeah.
Right. Well, I figured that's
I think
what it
the
was,
general consensus was college football collectively,
so.
but we all understand that he's also taking on something that's been a bit of the same thing.
Yeah.
One other quick soundbite from new quarterback John Mateer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comparisons to Baker Mayfield, I think, in terms of just the way that he plays the game, some of the emotion, some of the swag. He was asked about just his mentality on the football field and where that comes from.
I mean, I'll be honest, I used to struggle with the word fun on the field because if I'm not winning, like, it's not fun if you're not winning. We had a lot of success this past year, so it was fun. People say I have swag. I mean, you just play football. I have the ball in my hand every play. I mean, I get the opportunity to do something with it, and the camera's on me all the time, so I guess I have swag. Some people say I have toughness. I just feel like I have an obligation to give everything I have for my teammates. I guess that's where that comes from.
There you go. He's there for his teammates, and there's some Baker Mayfield, I think, type of messaging in there.
There's a little bit there, yeah. He did hit on, he's from Little Elm, which is North Dallas, and so he called this opportunity surreal, which I think if you're an OU fan, you like the fact that you have a guy that's taking over that position that feels like he's bought into what that position means, and I think he did a good job answering a lot of those questions yesterday.
He certainly understands the expectations on being the quarterback at Oklahoma, without a doubt. That is TJ Eckert. I'm Colby Daniels. We'll take a quick timeout. OU basketball, did they punch their ticket to the tourney next? Welcome back to the show. TJ, it is bubble watch for Oklahoma basketball. Massive win, a must-have on Wednesday night in Norman to wrap up the home portion of the schedule, and a win that may ultimately put them over the top. We don't really know. I do know that even though they won that game, Joe Lunardi still has them on the outside looking in, and apparently would need a win at Texas and maybe some work in the I almost said Big 12 tournament, in the SEC tournament.
Well, saying Texas and OU at the same time makes you, and then play Missouri, so it's like that's all Big 12. So to me, you beat Texas this weekend. If you win that game, to me that's probably enough. But if you go and win your first round game in the SEC tournament, whether it's Georgia or whoever they play in the lower level, it's like 14-11 or something like that. To me, that's enough. And I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, especially given the snake-bitten nature that OU basketball's had with the tournament committee recently. But you mentioned it. They did exactly what they had to do by beating Missouri at home. You lose Sam Godwin early in that game, and who's playing great, and you still find a way to cap that one off. So an impressive win. Credit to Porter Moser because all season long he's been getting, or all SEC season really, he's been getting heat like you're going to get fired if you miss the tournament. And they keep losing games. You're going to get fired. And he came out and got that team ready and won a really that was their best win of the season, regardless of the situation. But in the moment, it's the biggest win by far.
And timely, right?
Yes.
Because you can win a bunch of games early, but you are who you are going into the tournament, right? And I don't know that that's always taken completely into account when tourney bids are given out, but it certainly doesn't help your cause if you're on the bubble. If you're not playing well, but maybe another team is down the stretch and you have similar resumes, this is not only the biggest win of the season, but it's the biggest win at the end of the year. And they've been close down the stretch. I mean, I think that one thing that I think was a little bit of a struggle for me last night is seeing what they're capable of when they feel the urgency and wondering why there hasn't been maybe that same urgency on a regular basis. And that's not really an OU problem. That's really a college basketball program. They have such a great postseason setup that brings the ultimate urgency. And in the regular season, you can't generate that same thing, but now their back's against the wall and they have to play that way.
And one thing too, they blow that lead at LSU at home, and then they get hammered by Florida on the road. And since that point, I mean, they about beat Kentucky, they beat Mississippi State at home, was a good win. Almost beat Ole Miss on the road, which is turning out to would have been a pretty decent win there if they could have done that. And then obviously beat Missouri at home. So they've played much better down the stretch of the season. Jeremiah Fears being back to his self from non-con play is really helping. But backs against the wall, they've played pretty well. Now let's see if they can finish the job.
Are they a team, if they do find a way into the tournament, that you think could be dangerous depending on what the draw looks like? Because, look, they've lost to a lot of the premier teams in the country. The SEC has been dominant this year. So, again, just depending on the draw, do they have the right stuff to maybe make a second weekend run?
I'm going to sound like such a sunshine pumper. I was texting my buddy Jackson, if you're watching, thanks. I texted him this exact conversation this week. I said, you have an elite scorer in Jeremiah Fears. You have a coach who's proven he can win in March. You have a defense that's serviceable, and you're one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. And good guard play. Those are 5 things that win in March. And I know that this has been such an up and down season for them, but the ingredients are there for them to make a run if they do get in. I'm not saying they're going to, but they certainly could if given the right draw, and they can continue this momentum late in the year.
If given the right draw is the key part of this. 2 weeks ago, I would have said there's no chance, though. I think we've seen a big-time growth and maturity from Jeremiah Fears.
100%.
Midway through the SEC schedule, he looked a little bit lost and overwhelmed by the competition. He's really settled into, I think, what his role is, and he looks a lot more comfortable now, and that's got to bring confidence into that coaching staff for what he could do in a postseason run. So
the parallels here are whatever, the drastic changes. We're talking about them maybe making a run in the NCAA tournament, and if they don't make it, we're talking about the coach getting fired.
That's right.
There is no in between at this point. It's crazy.
It's a lot of fun. But that's SEC basketball, right? You may not have the resume because you're playing such good teams. All right, we're going to take a timeout. It is smash or punt next here on the End Zone. Along with TJ Eckert, I am Colby Daniels. It is time for Smash or Punt. I will throw out a statement. If you agree with it, you smash. If you disagree with it, you punt that thing away. Get it out of here.
Okay.
So pretty simple concept.
Yes.
We've done this before.
Yes.
I feel like I need some Hulk hands.
Yeah, that'd be good.
The toy Hulk hands to smash when I agree. All right, this is the first one, and I think this is, I'm curious to hear your answer. This would probably be a pretty good social media debate. SGA will surpass Russ as the most beloved Thunder player ever.
I'm going to that's a great question. I'm going to punt now.
Okay.
For now. Russ was asked this week why he still contributes to Oklahoma City, and he gave a great answer about the community, and now he grew up here, and the love he has for this city. So, and I think people just love that. And so I'm going to go punt for now. If SGA goes and wins a title, though, that's something that they couldn't do, right? So that's tough. I'll go punt for now, though.
The reason I asked that is because of those Russ comments, and I saw on social media a lot of Thunder fans saying, like, that's our guy forever.
Exactly.
We will forever love Russ, and SGA is on his way to winning the MVP this year. He's having a historic run right now. And I think in terms of postseason success, even if they don't win a championship, which if they win a championship, it's a no-brainer. But just with postseason success, they're set up to have way more success than Russ did, especially when Russ was the guy after Kevin. So I think there's just too much going for SGA for it not to end up that way. But it'll take a while. It's not going to happen immediately. So I'm going to smash. SGA ultimately surpasses Russ as the favorite Thunder player ever.
Crazy to think about.
All right, let's move on to number 2. OU ending the spring game is the right move. They're not going to play a traditional spring
Right.
game. It's going to be the, I think, Crimson Combine.
Yeah. So smash on ending this free game, and then punt the Crimson Combine. Let's just do nothing. Just have practice open for media and fans one time. You don't have to film it like TV. You don't have to have TV cameras there or anything. Just give fans an opportunity to see the team in the spring before the fall gets here. That's all we're asking. I don't mind not covering the spring game media-wise because it's like, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
I don't care much about the Crimson Combine. So
I care zero about the Crimson Combine. Now, I may have only cared 2% about the spring game, but that's more than zero, I guess. My thing is, it seems like the fans enjoy the spring game, right? There's been a lot of, I think, negative feedback over this move. It's an opportunity for some people to go to a Sooner game that aren't going to be able to go when they're playing
fair.
Alabama or LSU, right?
Sure.
So I know they kind of gave the answer yesterday or earlier this week of, like, injuries play a factor in this. I just think this is the new way of college football, and they're following suit. So I'm going to say punt.
Because you want the spring game.
Because I would rather have the spring game than the Crimson Combine.
That's fair.
So
kind of saying the same thing. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right. Ollie Gordon did not have like a sensational NFL Combine last week, right? When you look at the measurables, the 40 time, just everything he did, he was nowhere near the top of the running backs. And this is a great running back class. If you remember, Chuba Hubbard a few years ago had the 2,000-yard season, came back to Oklahoma State. The next year was not as good as it was, and he gets drafted in the 4th round, pick number 126. So smash or punt, Ollie Gordon gets drafted before Chuba did following his disappointing season.
So if I think he's going to get drafted after I punt, is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so I'm punting because it's such a good draft class.
It is.
I don't think the Combine really does much for Ollie. The tape does more for him, and he's just such a physical runner. So the Combine didn't affect him. To me, it was the tape from this previous season. Oklahoma State struggled, obviously, that was part of it. But I just think it's a good draft class, and the way we are handling running backs in the league now is different. And so I'll punt. I think it might be close, but I think he maybe goes in the 5th.
Okay. I'm going to smash, and it's barely, because I think most projections have him now at like round 4, round 5.
Sure.
Entering the season, people thought round 1, round 2.
Right.
It's a talented running back class, but ultimately it only takes one, right?
Sure.
Somebody is going to look at the build there, the size, the
Hard to
speed,
pass up.
what he did 2 years ago, and just say, like, it's round 4.
Yeah.
Let's pull the
Why
trigger
not?
and see what we
Flyer.
get. So I'll
Yeah.
smash, but not confidently,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be by a large margin. All right. We have college football win totals, TJ.
Okay.
OU is projected at 6.5 wins. OSU is projected at 5.5 wins. So smash or punt, both teams will hit the over projected win total.
I was in Vegas last fall before the season started and hammered the over on both teams and lost money. So I don't know what to do with this. I would think those numbers seem so small that we should just smash and they should both go over, but I thought the same thing last year. So I'll punt. I don't know which one's going to be under, but I just think I'm not going to be that confident anymore with how confident I was going into last season. So I'll punt.
So more miserable football in the state of Oklahoma
Probably.
in 2025.
It can't get worse, but we'll see.
OU, I think, is going to be better, but that schedule is just absolutely brutal.
Hard for
And
the
for
country.
Oklahoma State, I don't know how you can be more snake-bitten than you were a year ago. I don't think that either one of them is going to be amazing, but I got to feel like
Surely.
both of them take steps in the right direction. So I will smash that both, and maybe it's only by a half game. Maybe it's 7-6.
7-6, yeah.
But both teams smash the over on the win total. All right, final timeout. We're talking about SGA's historic run next here on the End Zone. Welcome back one final time, along with TJ Eckert. I am Colby Daniels. TJ, the Thunder are running away with the Western Conference, 11-game lead with 20 games to go. SGA is the scoring leader in the NBA. It would take a monumental crash and burn for SGA, I think, to lose the MVP and for the Thunder to go into the playoffs without anybody feeling super confident. SGA has been playing at such a great level the last month or so. He has 4 50-point games, 50-plus point games, in a 19-game stretch, which is incredible.
Right.
And I looked up the number of games and how many 50-point performances there have been in Thunder history before this stretch. Only 9 times in 1,354 games since the Thunder moved to OKC had a player scored 50 or more.
Wow.
9 times in that many games, and Shea's done it 4 times in a 19-game stretch.
That's absurd. I think Royce Young had the stat that he leads the league right now in 20, 30, 40, and 50-point games, which when you're the scoring leader, I guess that makes sense. But unbelievable run he's been on. And we've gotten to the point now where national media are just trying to find anything they can to poke holes in the Thunder resume. And I know they need talking points because they're up so much in the West. There's really nothing else to talk about for them, right? It's like, well, are they intimidating? No. Who's going to beat them? I don't know. But they are so good, and SGA's been playing on a completely different level. And I still think this team has another level that they can get to, too.
There is a stat that says SGA is the scoring leader in the NBA. SGA would be second scoring leader in the NBA behind himself if you only take what he's done in the first 3 quarters. So that basically says they're blowing people out and he's not playing in the fourth quarter. That's how good and efficient he's been. Just give him the MVP.
Yeah,
always fun to catch up. We will be back next Friday. For TJ Eckert, I'm Colby Daniels. Have a great weekend.